When you take population growth into account, GDP fell 0.5%. The third quarter in a row it hasn't gone up. So what Australians are feeling is a per capita recession.
What happens when two resource-rich giants face similar economic challenges? Australia outpaces Canada in productivity and income growth, and what both are doing to become critical mineral powerhouses by 2030. But why? Let's get into it. It's all about Australia and Canada. Even though they're far apart, these two countries have a lot in common regarding their economies. First off, both Australia and Canada are part of the Commonwealth and have federal governments. They share the challenge of having small populations spread out over huge and often tough-to-live-in areas. If you combine their economies, they'd be the fifth largest in the world. Both countries are big players in primary production. They excel in sectors like manufacturing, mining, and agriculture. However, Australia leans more on mining, while Canada has a more varied economy. They both export a lot of commodities like crude oil, natural gas, coal, iron ore, and rare earths. Both nations want to be big in processed critical minerals by 2030. But they've both got some hurdles to jump. Australia depends heavily on China for trade, and China relies a lot on the United States. This dependence can be tricky, especially with the changing global trade dynamics. In short, Australia and Canada face similar economic landscapes and challenges, but they're also well placed to tackle the future together. Sounds pretty fascinating, right? On the other hand, these two nations have more in common than you might think. Both countries rely heavily on their natural resources, which significantly affects their jobs, manufacturing, and overall economic growth. This heavy dependence can sometimes feel like a resource curse, where relying too much on natural resources can lead to economic troubles. Australia and Canada have also seen their populations grow a lot due to immigration. More people means more demand for housing, which has driven up real estate prices, especially in big cities like Sydney and Toronto. Unfortunately, home prices in both countries have shot up much faster than household incomes, making it tough for many to afford a home. Interestingly, despite these similarities, Australia has been doing better than Canada in terms of productivity and income growth since the 1990s. This success is thanks to economic reforms like deregulation and privatization. However, Australia's economy is still closely tied to the demand for commodities like iron ore and coal, which can be unpredictable. Canada depends a lot on exporting oil and gas. This reliance is becoming risky because the world is shifting towards reducing carbon emissions and using greener energy sources, and similarly, Australia relies heavily on its mining industry. Both countries need to diversify their economies to avoid putting all their eggs in one basket. But here's the good news. Neither Australia nor Canada is about to face an economic meltdown. Both countries have strong economic foundations and are actively working to overcome their challenges. They're looking for ways to innovate and grow beyond their traditional resource-based sectors. In short, while they do face some big challenges, Australia and Canada are well positioned to keep thriving. They've got the resources, the talent, and the determination to adapt and succeed. So, it's an exciting time for both countries as they navigate the future. What do you think about this? First off, both Australia and Canada have seen their populations grow significantly, mainly due to immigration. People from all over the world move to these countries, adding to the workforce and bringing in new skills. This surge in population has led to a big demand for housing. As a result, real estate prices have shot up, particularly in major cities like Sydney and Toronto. Unfortunately, this means that the average home prices in both countries are now much higher than what most people earn, making housing less affordable. Now it's all about productivity and income growth. Since the 1990s, Australia has been doing better than Canada in these areas. Why? Australia implemented several economic reforms such as deregulation and privatization. These changes have attracted more investment and spurred innovation, leading to higher productivity growth. In simple terms, Australia has managed to get more output from its workforce and resources, boosting incomes and the overall economy. However, there is a catch. Australia's economy is heavily tied to the demand for commodities like iron ore, coal, and natural gas. This can be a double-edged sword because commodity prices can be very unpredictable. When prices are high, the economy does well, but if they drop, it can lead to economic instability. On the other hand, Canada's economy relies a lot on exporting oil and gas. This dependence on fossil fuels can be risky, especially as the world moves towards greener energy solutions to combat climate change. Efforts to reduce carbon emissions could mean less demand for oil and gas in the future, posing a challenge to Canada's economic stability. And despite these issues, it's important to note that neither Australia nor Canada is on the brink of economic collapse. Both countries have strong economic foundations and are actively working to address their challenges. For instance, they're both aiming to become significant producers of processed critical minerals by 2030. This move is part of their strategy to diversify their economies and reduce reliance on traditional resources. Another interesting point is that while both countries are rich in natural resources, they lack globally significant companies in technology and innovation. Their spending on research and development is relatively low, and strict rules against foreign investment make it hard for new businesses to thrive. This is an area where both countries could improve to ensure long-term economic growth. In conclusion, while Australia and Canada share many similarities in their economic structures and face common challenges, they also have unique strengths and strategies. Australia's success with economic reforms and productivity growth offers valuable lessons, while Canada's rich resources and focus on immigration provide a solid foundation for future growth. Both countries are well positioned to adapt and thrive in the changing global economy. It's a fascinating comparison, isn't it? Seeing how two countries with so much in common handle their economic challenges and opportunities differently really highlights the importance of smart policy choices and adaptability. Both countries are facing some big economic challenges, but they're also pretty well set up to tackle them. Immigration continues to play a crucial role, bringing in new skills and keeping the workforce dynamic. However, they need to get a handle on housing affordability, as no one wants to be priced out of their own city. Australia's edge in productivity and income growth is thanks to its economic reforms, but it's got to be careful with its reliance on commodities. Those markets can be a roller coaster ride. Canada's love affair with oil and gas needs a rethink too, especially as the world turns greener. Here is where it gets interesting. Both countries are pushing to become leaders in processed critical minerals by 2030. If they pull this off, it could be a game changer, helping them diversify their economies and reduce their dependency on just a few big trading partners. Plus, investing more in tech and innovation could bring them some much-needed global clout in these sectors. So, what's the takeaway? Australia and Canada have their work cut out for them, but they're not doomed. With strong foundations, smart policies, and a bit of innovation, they can navigate these challenges. It's all about staying adaptable and forward-thinking. What do you think? Could Australia and Canada be the next big hubs for tech and critical minerals? And that's all about it. If you like this video, please give a thumbs up, and if you like more updates, subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to click on the bell icon so you don't miss any videos and get notifications in time. Don't hesitate to give suggestions for our videos, and see you in the next one.